Inside the Arena is presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sportsbook.
Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
Deep breath. It has been a heck of a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we were just talking about this before. I mean, the Seahawks overhauled their roster just in a few days. We had March Madness and Mariners opening day and so many more things that are just really reminders that Seattle's got a pretty darn good sports scene, huh?
Yeah, and we've got a bunch of off the court, off the ice, off the field of play stuff, specifically with the NBA. Since we last talked, there's a lot going on there in terms of the potential return of the Sonics, a big meeting this week. And then we also have a chance this week to take you kind of behind the curtain with the Seattle Kraken and talk about the game presentation for anybody who has gone to a game at Climate Pledge Arena. They have seen the tentacle come down, Stella. They have seen the lights and the action and the pregame movies and all of that kind of stuff. We're going to take you behind the curtain and talk with the two people most responsible for all of that game time entertainment.
I'm there almost every home game, and I did not know that tentacle had a name.
Stella.
Did not know that.
Yes, that's a teaser, as we like to say in this business. But,
all right.
But before we get to Four Corners, let's do something different this week.
Let's shake it up.
Let's talk about the Supersonics, the Supersonic Minute. There's more to talk about than just 1 minute will allow. As it comes to, and it could change by the time people hear this. Full disclosure, recording on a Wednesday, the NBA Board of Governors meeting this week. There could be some discussion about the future of the NBA, the future with expansion. I know you've been following this as well.
Yeah, no question about it. Hey, listen, everybody else is shaking things up in March. We may as well shake up inside the arena.
Hey, there we go. Different type of March Madness. Okay, let's get people up to speed.
Yes.
So, big news last week. This is something we've been tracking now for several weeks. Is that the Boston Celtics appear to have a sale in order $6.1 billion. That has been an element that the folks here in Seattle that want an expansion franchise, the fans who have been following this story, they know that this has been a hurdle. Get the Boston Celtics sold so there is a valuation set for a expansion franchise. And we've heard that directly from the NBA as well. So last week it breaks that there is this deal in place. Bill Chisholm, who is a big equity guy, South Street Partners back on the East Coast, he's agreed to this kind of complicated yet two-part sale with a lot of money involved that is going to set potentially the expansion price. Since that has happened, a couple of things have popped up. Axios is reporting that the sale may test the NBA's private equity rules. In terms of how much private equity needs to be put into it. That is something that's going to be discussed by the NBA as well, because right now he's committed less money than Sixth Street Partners, according to sources, and this again, according to Axios, with this story. That is not allowed by the NBA per regulations first established in 2021. So there's a question of just how much money of his own he's going to have to put into this versus private equity. And then also in this last week, it has come up, according to Sportico, first to report this, that the NBA owners are going to review a proposed European League. This is something that's really, there's been a lot of steam behind in the last year. There's a question of what that future league would look like. Does it look more like the WNBA? Does it look more like the NBA as potential expansion franchises there? So these two big ticket items look to be on the NBA's plate, the owner's plate, as they meet this week. And there is a certain expectation that perhaps expansion will come up, although we are being told that that is not the case, that Seattle will not come up in this meeting. But both of these things could impact the future of the franchise, a potential franchise in Seattle.
Well, yeah, and that's just it. Knowing that the Celtic sale was the last big hurdle, other things have to be talked about, but it's the natural next question. And inevitably, in some way, shape, or form, whether that's on camera with Adam Silver or behind the scene with the rest of his board of governors and owners, it's going to be talked about in some capacity. And now we wait and certainly being plugged in, certainly as you are especially, to see what comes out after it.
Well, and again, it could all change by the time people hear this.
We may have to take this thing down and I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so I reached out to Lauren Anderson, who's the director of the Warsaw Sports Business Center at the University of Oregon. She is somebody who has followed this very closely. She worked for 12 years at Adidas, more than a decade at Nike. She follows sports business, and I asked her how much she thinks a future Sonics franchise would go for. You will hear her answer right after this.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, where comfort meets elegance. This summer, experience breathtaking Cascade views, world-class dining, and play your favorite games. Elevate your next getaway by combining effortless style with the utmost relaxation. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
There have been a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest and Seattle that have been waiting for the sale of the Boston Celtics because of what that valuation may mean for an expansion franchise. What do you think the valuation means for an expansion franchise?
I mean, the valuation has been, prior to the sale, sort of post-media deal, seems like it's been somewhere between $5 and $6 billion. I feel like that's probably, I don't expect it to go much higher given the markets that are in consideration. I mean, I don't know how you pay much more than 4 or 4.5 in Seattle. I mean, yes, the city is clamoring for it. It is a legacy city for the NBA, but some would make the argument that the city couldn't keep the NBA there. And it's really quite a premium price. I mean, it is also the 13th largest media market. So you could also say there's a hole there.
Why do you think the valuations have skyrocketed in such a short amount of time? Steve Ballmer, of course, buying the Clippers, raised the bar at $2 billion, but we just saw the Phoenix Suns go for $4 billion. The Timberwolves, on the other hand, that's another whole story. They're still trying to fight over $1.5 billion, but we've seen this rapid progression with NBA franchises. Why do you think that is?
I think it's gone hand in hand with some of the media money that goes with it, and the value that the media is placing on the marketplace. And as all sport has gone more global, I think, there's more eyeballs, there's more potential. I do think that the media game is that curve is not the hockey stick it was, that's going to flatten out. It's sort of an interesting time because I think we're at a bit of a peak, and I don't think the expansion teams are going to shoot past certainly what the Celtics were just valued at. I mean, I feel like, again, that 6.1 is at, one of the two most marquee brands, 2 or 3 marquee brands in the NBA. That's, probably, pretty high. So let's see where it's going to come back down and settle. I would think it would come closer to the 4 that Phoenix paid.
So that gets you up to speed on the more than supersonic minute. Anderson, again, saying she thinks that an expansion franchise would go for $5 billion or less. Still a big question. Who's going to cough up that money? But you heard what she had to say there. And that is going to be something, again, that we'll be updating in the weeks to come, as it does appear like the ball is advancing down the court.
Yes, no more moving of the goalposts, it would seem.
We just mixed some metaphors there.
We kind of did. And listen, Adam Silver told you, we're addressing expansion this season. Now, I don't know that he foresaw the extent of the holdup, perhaps, with the Celtics now when he made that statement to you. But the point remains, he's still got time to make it happen now. So let's see what happens in these next couple months.
And I think we'll be watching those words carefully from Adam Silver. Okay, later in the show, again, we're going to talk about the Kraken pre-game experience, the game day experience with the two people most responsible, Lamont Buford and Caitlin Salemi. That's coming up. But the thing that we normally like to do at the start of the show, we like to touch them all 4 corners. What's good, what's bad in the world of sports, off the court, off the ice, off the field of play. Nico, what's good, man?
I don't know what those guys are cheering for there. I mean, I didn't even say anything yet. But
they're waiting with eager anticipation.
I suppose that's the case. And listen, I want to say, speaking of basketball, the return of the Sonics, now that Seattle once again showed out.
Yeah.
I want to talk specifically about the crowds at Climate Pledge Arena. We could go in depth later if you want about how, they pulled it off and everything like that. And there was a small hiccup on the first day. where some folks didn't get in, but that was
a lot of people got rained on.
A lot of people got rained on, had to do with the different sessions. But when you're talking about showcasing to the world, is Seattle a basketball city? Heck yeah, has got to be the answer. I mean, I was struck by when I was doing my live reports in the concourse Friday. It wasn't just Oregon fans. I mean, sure, there was a lot of them. It wasn't just Arizona fans, and sure, there were a lot of them. I was seeing all sorts of colleges. You're seeing Wichita State. I saw a bunch of Syracuse. I was like, wait, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Obviously, and then you see some of the regional ones. You saw a lot of Huskies and Zaga, but the point remains that these were a lot of these people. Yes, you had the fans that traveled from these particular cities and schools, towns, but you also had a really large percentage of that crowd that were just basketball fans here in Seattle that just wanted to experience March Madness. And to me, it's like, you and I have talked about in this show, like everything is being watched by the NBA. Even if we believe that Seattle's a shoo-in, even if we believe all these things that we've heard, it helps when you pack the crowd for an NBA exhibition game. It helps when you pack the crowd for Seattle Storm games. It helps when you pack the crowd for March Madness games as well. And they did well over 16 and 17,000 fans for the session 2 on Friday, and then the second round session on Sunday. Crowd was lively. It was electric. NBA's in season, but if anybody in Adam Silver's office happened to come to Seattle for that, they would have come away with a good impression.
And I think there were some executives as well that were in the suite level, that were making sure that everything was going according to plan, that I think were happy with ultimately, yes, there was that hiccup, but ultimately how the arena looked for March Madness.
Exactly. And that hiccup, mind you, we're talking about folks for session 2 couldn't get in when they wanted to. I actually believe that was more of an NCAA timing thing, because then they regulate the Climate Pledge, has to clear it out, separate ticket package, separate thing. I don't believe that's on the Climate Pledge staff, to be honest with you.
Yeah, very, very good point. You know what I will say that I like this week, and it's kind of funny, we have to preface sometimes when we record and when they actually, these podcasts, these shows post, because we were talking about the fact that the Mariners were one of 4 franchises that did not have direct-to-consumer television, meaning the idea that you don't have to sign up for cable anymore to get Root Sports, right? We've talked at length over the last several weeks about Root Sports and how that plays into the Mariners on the field product. Well, we talk about this on the show, and it seemed like somebody was listening, because all of a sudden the Mariners announced that they are going to have a service direct to consumer, meaning for $19.99 a month, you can get Root Sports and have no blackouts in the Seattle market, or really the entire Root Sports market. This is a massive change for them, $20 a month, and you'll be able to watch every game. There was a question of were they, because of contracts and distribution, were they're going to be able to get to that point? Well, now they're to that point, and best of my knowledge right now, only 3 other franchises do not have a direct-to-consumer option. The Mariners are now one of them, after we said they weren't one of them last week. Yes, somebody was listening.
They were
I think that's great for the start of the season.
It is. They were like, you know what? Chris said we have to do this, so there we go. No. And I think $20 a month, especially if you're a diehard Mariner fan, I think I'm going to do it. Like,
I saw a lot of the criticism that that's not the right price, but when you break it down for 30 or 31 days and that many games, we're talking about less than $1.
I was just going to say less than $1 a game. And you look at other streaming packages that are not live sports. Live sports is the last thing that is like really, you got to see it when it happens, or you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Very few people still DVR or whatever the case might be. You know, like an AMC Plus is $20 a month, give or take, something like that, for watching The Walking Dead, which is a good show. But the point is, Mariners.
They just compared The Walking Dead to the Mariners.
Oh, no, I did not mean to do that. Oh, no. Boy, I walked right into that one, didn't I? No
pun intended.
Hopefully they do better than that. Hopefully,
hopefully they're not a bunch of zombies.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
I hope if you play this again in 6 months, if they miss the playoffs, I'm really going to be like, that was my fault. That was my fault. But I guess the point is, comparatively, again, like you said, you're talking about less than $1 a game. Come on, man. That's not a bad deal at all.
So what don't you like?
Well, I'm going to go back to the NCAA tournament. This has nothing to do with us here in Seattle, and it's a slight rant, but it's a little more of a subdued
People
rant.
like your rants.
Well, I'm going to say, I think we're finally seeing the effects of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
What didn't we see in this tournament? Really?
Like we didn't see a Cinderella.
We didn't. A 12 seed was the biggest upset. We see that every year.
Yeah.
And that's not even, like, you're talking 12 seed. Like Colorado State beat Memphis here. You know, Colorado State's in a pretty good conference. It's not like High Point if they beat Purdue, or it's not like when Purdue lost as a 1 seed to Fairleigh Dickinson, all that stuff. You know, and I think that's the product of the transfer portal and NIL, which in their own silos are good things. But now you look at it in the grand scheme of things, the best part of March, I think, is compromised by it from the standpoint of, you've got a really good player on that 15 seed St. Peter's. Well, I'll tell you what now, that guy's going to get a 6-figure deal at some Power 5 school, right?
Yep.
And that's just it. And it's not even like they have to show out at March Madness to get that to happen. I mean, these guys, these assistants, these guys who break down film for these college programs, that's all they do. And so whether they encounter this player, let's say you're a Huskies assistant coach and the Cougs play some mid-major, like, whoa, who's number 12 there? He's really good. And then they're on him. That's all it takes. And these guys watch so much film. They watch every game. It's just what they do. And so I think, it's 1 year. I don't want to overreact because who knows, maybe next year we see a 16 seed win. But genuinely, and I've been in person for a lot of NCAA tournaments, this was the first year that, maybe in my bracket, I'm like, Grand Canyon could beat Maryland. Or looking at my bracket, saying that, I'll stick with that one, Grand Canyon or Maryland. And then I saw them in person when I was watching the game at Climate Pledge. I'm like, oh my God. Maryland was just so much more bigger, athletic. They just the look test. And then, of course, they proved it by winning by like 30 some odd points. So that's my point. If it stays this way next year and beyond, you know why. But I think that's what's happening with this is the NCAA transfer portal and NIL. Again, while they have their positives in their own right, I think it's hurting the product of March Madness.
Yeah, we were sitting next to each other. The idea that we're watching Akron and Arizona and Oregon and Liberty, and there was a definite size disadvantage for those two smaller schools. You could see that one team had 5 guys over 6'8".
Yeah.
The other team had just one. So there was definitely a difference.
Yeah, we were sitting there. That's right, for that Oregon Liberty game, and we were just like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Hey, speaking of things that are not going to happen, I'll take us home on Four Corners. It's interesting, kind of the nexus of news and sports, and this whole discussion about new housing development down in Sodo.
Sure.
That passed the Seattle City Council to allow for less than 1,000 units of housing on Chris Hansen's land down in Sodo, where he once discussed building an arena. Boy, it's been interesting in the last week that there are people now saying, his true intentions are to build an arena down there. I can tell you that's false. And it's a shame that that is all being dusted up again. And that whole discussion is beginning again over this discussion on housing. All signs point to, if the Sonics come back, it's going to be a climate pledge arena.
Yeah. And you would believe it was you that told me that he said he's only hanging out of the land until he knows the Sonics are coming back, and it appears right.
Yeah. So it kind of a shame that that whole discussion got kicked up over a housing development.
That is, yeah.
So that's where that stands. And speaking of Climate Pledge Arena, you've seen it numerous times now over the course of 4 years. A big pregame show. The Kraken have put a big emphasis on the game day experience, the movie making, Jerry Bruckheimer, all of that. And we had a chance to sit down with the two people most responsible for that pregame and in-game ceremony, Lamont Buford, Caitlin Salemi. You will hear from them right after this.
Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel's award-winning outdoor summer concert series is back. See amazing artists like Hanson, Austin Jenks, Melanie Fiona, and POD this summer overlooking the beautiful Snoqualmie Valley. Visit snowcasino.com for tickets. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Thanks for doing this.
No problem.
What goes into a typical game day in terms of presentation?
There's a lot that goes into it. We meet weeks, sometimes months in advance to try to plan for it. And we'll talk about, if there's overall theme, we'll talk about the theme, talk about items that, potential items that could go in. But Caitlin does a really good job of, getting groups together to make sure that we can have the right elements in it. And then she'll start planning and putting some stuff together pretty far in advance. So
yeah, we are kind of the group that takes all the pieces of the puzzle and then builds the puzzle. So whether it's partnership marketing, tickets, community, marketing, we kind of, in the beginning of the season and over the course of the season, take those puzzle pieces, sit down, build the puzzle out, make sure we have everybody incorporated that we need to incorporate. And every game is different. Not every game is the exact same, whether it's a theme or just in general. So we'll sit down as a group, look at all those puzzle pieces, work together to see how they fit in the best way. And then take that to build our scripts out, which then takes us into game day.
It's kind of interesting how the game day presentation has evolved, especially I think people who have been to a Vegas Golden Knights game in particular know about that pregame show and how people will come for the pregame show. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to fans who are like, I need to be in my seat to see the pregame show. How has it changed just from a game presentation standpoint in terms of how important that is on a game day now to have a good presentation?
It sets the tone. It is definitely a tone setter for the game, for the people who are coming in. Years past, the game was the game, and that's what people came for. But nowadays, people come for the entertainment, and this is that piece in the open that sets the tone of what you're going to see or may not see, depending on how the play on ice is. For us, it's important that the open sets a really good tone, has the energy high once we get done with it. The icing on the cake for us, Tommy singing the anthem, and then we're able to drop the puck and then let's go. Like we want fans to be entertained by what they see, and just set that tone.
I think a lot of it too is building off stories from previous years and growing as the years have gone on, learning the identity of our team, the players that we have, introducing our fans to new players, which in a few of our opens, especially kind of mid-season, will incorporate like a different player each night just to kind of give a little education or time for a player to shine in kind of that moment. And I think a lot of it is just us building over the course of those first couple of years, whether it's through learning the building and our technology and constantly advancing it, and just each year wanting to go a little bigger and better each time, to kind of put the best show out there that we can.
And it has. I mean, there's been more time and resources put into it, especially from year one to year two. Year one, you had some knucklehead doing voiceover work, right, in the pregame.
That was a great open.
This is Chris Gables. Across the sound, the water is happening angry. Ominous sightings are being reported from the Tacoma Narrows Bridge up to Port Townsend. One question remains. What dwells in the deep?
We still reference that open quite a bit. That knucklehead was really good to us, so we appreciate it.
And then second season, it's like it's a Jerry Bruckheimer movie that you're watching. What was the decision in terms of it was like filming a movie for the open? What was the decision behind that?
One, we had our players for a little bit longer. We had a little bit more time to actually tell the story of the brand story. And then Jerry is he doesn't weigh in a lot. But for him, one of the things that we remembered from year one, and even he kind of repeated the message going into year two, is like, make it dramatic, like make people feel. And we took that information. That was all he kind of weighed in on. And then we said, well, Jerry, a guy who could kind of really help us make it dramatic, and, we were able to get Hans's team to actually put something together for us that, it's a nice little suite of music that we've been able to utilize since. So our goal has always been to show that drama. The way the brand is set up, the Kraken is mysterious. And so to be able to always kind of play into that drama and that mystery is something that we love doing.
I think to piggyback off that too, you could do a typical highlight, pump, really good song, intro video that you've seen everywhere. And one of our biggest goals is how do we develop that, make it better? And that's where a lot of the storytelling comes from. So we're very big on kind of a mix of, yes, we want the hockey, we want the high energy, we want you to see our team scoring really great goals and awesome calls from Forsland or Everett or, whoever's in it. But then the storytelling component, the dark, the mysterious, we don't have an actual Kraken that we can just show you because that's what our brand is. Nobody knows what the Kraken looks like. So how do we keep that mystery, that storytelling, and mix it with your typical intro and just elevate it that much more. And so that's what we try to do every year.
And it's been an award-winning show.
It has. We don't set out to try to win awards. They do come and they do happen, and it's been awesome. We've been able to see the fruits of the labor from those awards.
So as that evolved, so has the in-game presentation in terms of projections. And I think that's one thing that's very noticeable in year 3 and year 4 is all the lights. What kind of investment was made to have all those projections going down on the ice that's obviously not coming up from underneath the ice?
Well, I wish and I hope one day the league will let us bring stuff up from underneath the ice. It would be perfect. The investment was actually from year 1. And we were able to bring in most of the toys that you see now in year 1. But time has been the greatest investment of all, to allow people to get in, to be able to play with the toys that we have, to get used to the toys that we have. We had to truly learn our building in the first couple of seasons. And we are still learning our building. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in the world, but it's also one of the most challenging buildings that I've ever been in. We have the 2 beautiful twin video boards. We have that beautiful cathedral glass that can cause some issues. We have our south end where our stage is at, that if the curtains are open, it's wide, more issues. So we've been battling light. We've been battling how much fog we can put in or haze that we can put in. We've been battling all of those things and learning it because going into the building as late as we did, we didn't have a lot of time to actually know how to actually work everything within the building and make it pop the way that we have. But I've loved watching how things have evolved over the years. Loved, as we were saying before the camera started rolling, people have started to settle a little bit, and I've loved actually watching people's minds go from, oh my gosh, we got to get this, to, okay, settle. And then the creativity has just begun to flow. And it's been amazing to watch.
There is a control room as well, and I think that's one of the hidden spots that
people don't really see a climate pledge in. You've got a bunch of people that are working on this simultaneously and in a control room. What can you say about that?
We have a great crew in our control room, and it plays back into what he was saying is a lot of our staff, this is the first time they've ever worked hockey. In year 1, this is the first time that we had gotten this group together. And so we've really created our own little family on game nights. They love coming to work at games. Just the excitement that the team has brought this city and the people who really truly want to be a part of it. I remember going into playoffs and just the excitement of our crew along with that, because that's a whole nother level you get to once you hit playoffs and watch parties and, bigger and better and all that kind of stuff. But we have a fantastic group of people from the control room and even a little bit outside the control room, because we have a lot more part-time staff even outside of that. Our C Squad, our icebreakers, our entertainment assistants. It's a big group of people that truly help us put on this show, and we couldn't do it without them.
We're close to 100 people on game nights that that are involved in making the show what it is for all of the fans. And so to be able to coordinate that many people to put out the product that we're doing, it's amazing.
And it's more than just technical. If you've been to a lot of games like I have, in the seats, year 1, everybody was up on the top level on the south side, and that was game day presentation. And it's evolved to now the heroes of the beat that's done in the bowl. The game day presenters are in the bowl and walking all around. What goes into that thought process of keeping everything active as opposed to year 1 when everything was kind of up in the corner?
I think it goes back to what he was saying. Year 1, we were just trying to learn the building and learn what our show was going to be, learn the places that we could get to, learn the places that a camera could actually get. There's places in the building still that we can't do live camera shots from because we just don't have the ability to do it. And so it's learning what those little spots are, trying new things and being okay to try new things.
Year one, when we started, it was COVID.
Yeah.
Mask mandates. So we laugh every now and again because one of the features that we had to do year one, for one of our partners was the smile cam. How are you supposed to smile with a mask? And we had to be socially distanced. So year one, we were forced to kind of be so far away because we had to be distant. Year two, it was, okay, wait, we don't have to do this anymore. We could actually branch out a little bit. So we kind of stepped out a little bit, but then again, we started to find those places where we couldn't go. And one thing that I absolutely hate is seeing the board go black or seeing, the signal get lost on the screen. Cause it's like, oh man, how do we avoid seeing that? And so it, like Caitlin mentioned, it took moving around, trying to figure out exactly where we can go. How do we move through? We also had to get fans used to us climbing into their space. I can recall a couple of times last year where we tried to do a couple promos where we were going into the fan space and they were like, whoa, it's supposed to be my area. But, now it's really cool because, again, not just from our side where you see people that have kind of relaxed, you see it from the fan side as well. They're used to what we're trying to do and they're getting a lot more involved, which is great.
I think objectively the best example of this is Heroes of the Deep, a segment, if people haven't seen it, where the Kraken are giving away $32,000. That happens in the first period. In the first year, it was up in the rafters and everybody kind of stopped and turned around and, okay, get on your feet. And people weren't necessarily getting on their feet. You move that into the bowl and you can tell the energy in the bowl is different.
Yeah.
And you've made that now a staple in the first period, having people do the presentation, whether it's Todd Humphrey or somebody else doing the presentation.
Yeah. And that was important for us to get that into the crowd. We played around with different areas like you mentioned, but there was a disconnect. And we were like, this is for the community. This is for the fans. Like, let's get this into that space. And we were able to do that. And, I've seen such great success from it.
And last question is just about the tentacle. We talked a little bit about this off mic. That has been there since year one, since the start. It's a big piece of the game day presentation. What can you say about just that massive tentacle that comes down in the middle of the ice?
We actually have a name for her. Her name is Stella. Most people don't know that. She's, again, weirdly become a part of our family. And so, as we kind of mentioned earlier, she'll always have a place somewhere within our show, whether it's in the same capacity as she is now or something a little bit different. We've been able to kind of build our intros and our stories around her. It's a huge focal piece. She's changed a little bit from year one, year two, and year three, year four, with some tweaks to her. But I know it's always a great picture that people are able to get. It's a huge staple kind of what our open has been.
Yeah.
And just kind of, we'll see how she evolves as we move forward.
They deserve some cheers.
They do. They're
Stella!
awesome. And they do a great job.
They do a great job.
I've always told people Kraken games like a rock concert meets a hockey game, and that's all great stuff. I love being there.
And that knucklehead, by the way, was me that I was referencing there in the interview.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that in case I didn't translate well through the audio and video sphere. But you know what? It's an exciting week. Let's just close it like it's going to be an exciting week here, I think, for us inside the arena. Is it not?
It will, and we can't wait.
The final buzzer. Wait. Let me give you the final buzzer so you can close us out. There we go.
Hey.
It works.
Just stand by and stay tuned. I mean, it's just going to be a great time in Seattle sports, and I can't wait to bring you next week's episode.
I can't
We'll
wait
stop
either.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
David Lee, take us out.
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.
Inside the Arena was presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sports book.